glad to testify today here, because this is kind of a symbolic moment for me, because, 5 years ago, there was this undergraduate student who just got an opportunity to come to South Korea for the first time. At that time, she didn't know much about God. She had no fear, but she had no idea what she was going to. And now this undergraduate student is not an undergraduate student anymore. She's standing here in front of you. She just got accepted to PhD studies at SKKU. And glory to God, not to that student. And so it's really amazing to look back on the 5 years and see how God has worked in my life, how good He's been to me. And I can hardly imagine how good He might be in the next 5 years, and what kind of a testimony I may give in next 5 years. So as I said, 5 years ago, I didn't know much about God. I would call myself agnostic, but I was fearless really when I was going to Korea, and for some reason I had no doubt I was on the right track. It was the right way for me. And indeed, right after I got to Korea, I started to meet God through people, through events. But at the same time, when I look back, I know that because I was always rejecting people who talked to me about God, I was rejecting everything. I wanted to stay far from it. But God always pulled me closer. And I know that it was God who led me to church. I know it was God who made me read the Bible. It was definitely none of my effort. It was the Holy Spirit that He's been given to me by His grace. So He opened my heart, He opened my eyes. But also, as I look back on the last 5 years, it was not always that great moment of, realizing now I'm with God. It was more like those two moments in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 17 and Matthew chapter 26. There are two kind of opposing situations. And in chapter 17, there is Jesus going with Peter and James on the mountain. And here is transfigured there. He talks to Moses and Elijah. And the apostles, the disciples are so astonished. They are in the greatest excitement ever. And Peter even says, "It is good that we are here. Let me build 3 tents here." They want to stay there. They enjoy the moment. And on the other hand, in chapter 26, there is Jesus, afraid and sad, because he knows that the hour is coming. So he's in the Gethsemane and he prays anxiously, and he asked the disciples to stay up with him and pray together. But instead, they don't want to be there, right? They sleep instead. And so I've noticed myself exactly in those situations of those disciples, when there's been moments of huge joy when I was asking, "Lord, this is so good. This is the moment where I'm supposed to be. I know you want me here, so let me stay here." But God said, "No, let's go on." And He took me farther from that moment. But also when I was in those moments like, "Oh, I don't want to go through this. This is too tough." And I was just trying to ignore. I was just kind of sad. Again, Lord pulled me out of that. And through that course of life, I was realizing that God is actually always there. And God is the stability. God is not that moment or the other moment. God is the eternity. God is the one that walks with me, and He's always there. And also He is almighty. He can give and He can also take. But it's not the thing that He gives or takes that matters. It's Himself who matters. So I've been learning, and I'm still learning, of course, that if I'm with God, I'm always ready to accept what He gives me. But also when I'm with God, I'm always ready to let go when He wants to take it away. When I'm with God and I pray, Jesus always takes away my burden. And also he never satisfies my foolish desires that I ask for, if I pray or if things that I want. And that's something that I realized just recently, that he gives me something much more important, much more precious, and that is, he gives me peace. He gives me the peace within and the reliance on God. So, right now, I'm here standing, I feel like 5 years ago when I was standing in front of unexplored, unknown land. So right now I'm standing before this unexplored land of PhD studies. And 5 years ago, as I said, I was fearless. I was almost reckless. I didn't care. And now, I have to admit that I have kind of a fear. But this fear is not like paralyzing fear. It's not that I'm afraid, it's more that I have huge respect before God. I know that He will take me through many of these moments of transfiguration of Jesus when I'll be in huge joy, and He will also take me through Gethsemane. But 5 years ago, I didn't have the thing that I have now, and that is, I didn't have the peace within, knowing that God is always with me. And that is something that I want to carry on with for the next 5 years and give you an amazing testimony in 5 years again. He is good. God bless you all.